Today I'm going to tell you a brutal and deeply human story. The kind that stays with you long after it ends unfolding in the merciless heart of the Wild West, where mercy is rare and survival comes at a cost. This is a land where danger and destiny meet, where the past never truly stays buried. And it all starts with one quiet moment so small it almost goes unnoticed, yet strong enough to ignite violence, redemption, and hope. Before we kick off this adventure, don't forget to hit like on the video and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. The first thing that comes into view is a young woman bound to a cottonwood, her arms stretched overhead until her shoulders burn, her ankles cinched tight by coarse rope biting into sun-baked soil. The heat comes down hard, merciless. Standing a few steps in front of her is a man old enough to know right from wrong, yet hardened enough to break every rule a decent life is built on. His name is Harlan Pike, close to 50, a rancher with a weather-cut face and skin darkened by years of sun, a man who has lived through drought, whiteout storms, and gunfire. But nothing in his past prepared him for this moment, because the woman tied to that tree is May Calder. She is 21, coated in dust, frightened but unbroken, stubborn as a feral Mustang. Her lips are split from thirst, her blouse torn at the shoulder, yet her gaze does not waver. She stares straight at the man who might be her way out or her end. Behind her stretches nothing but miles of yellow grass and lifeless trees, the prairie swallowing all sound. A bandit named Rourke Van watches Harlan with a crooked smile. He wants proof. Proof that Harlan still belongs to him. Proof that he is willing to cross a line that cannot be uncrossed. The command is simple. Finish it. Harlan steps forward. Each slow step drives his boots into the brittle ground. May's breathing turns sharp. She strains against the ropes, but the knots only sear deeper into her skin. Her voice shakes when she speaks, yet she forces the words out. If you want to, just do it. The sentence drops into the heat and stays there. For a heartbeat, the world freezes. Even the wind seems to die. Harlan's jaw locks tight, his eyes darkening as something old and buried claws its way up inside his chest. A memory he has spent years trying to kill. The day he lost his wife and his boy Nora Pike and Owen Pike to men exactly like Rourke Van, men who laughed while innocent people pleaded. May has no idea what she has just stirred awake. All she knows is that she will not cry. She will not shrink. Harlan slowly raises his hands. From where Rourke stands, it looks like the beginning of something cruel. But May notices something else. A pause. A doubt. A flicker of mercy in a man who should have burned it out of himself long ago, right there under the Kansas sun. Harlan Pike decides he will not obey. Not today. Not with this girl. The question is how far he is willing to go to protect her and what it will cost him once Rourke realizes Harlan is no longer his. Harlan stays still for a long second. May keeps her eyes fixed on him, unable to tell if he is about to save her or destroy what little she has left. Then Harlan lowers his hand, and for the first time since she saw him, she catches fear in his eyes. Not fear of Rourke, but fear of the man he would become if he followed through. While Rourke spits into the dust and turns away to check his horse, Harlan crouches close, pretending to tighten the rope at May's legs. She hears his breath uneven, shaking. He murmurs so quietly she almost misses it. Trust me. The words hit harder than the heat. Why should she trust a man who rode in with the outlaws who tied her up? A man who stood by while she begged for water? And yet there is something in his voice that rings true. Not kind, just tired. Tired in a way that told her he had been living with regret far too long. Judd grabbed the reins and ripped May down from the wagon. They took her money, laughing like it was the simplest work they'd done all week. Rope followed fast, wrists bound, ankles tied. Then they dumped her in the dirt and said they needed a hostage until they were clear of the county. That was when Harlan Pike showed up. Quiet. Too quiet. Worn down, eyes carrying something heavy. Rourke Van bragged that Harlan owed him, said this was the day Harlan would finally prove he was worth keeping around. May remembered the way Harlan had looked at her then. Not hungry like Rourke, not cruel like Judd Van, just worn out. Worn in a way that made her think he'd been hauling guilt on his back for years. Now the memory fades, pulling her back into the present. She feels the rope shift again. Harlan is working at it, careful trying not to get caught. Her heart pounds so hard it hurts. If Rourke turns around now, they're both dead. Harlan leans in just enough for her to hear him breathe, then murmurs, "When I cut the last rope, you're going to fall. Don't make a sound." But Rourke starts walking back. Boots crunch through dry grass. He's close enough now to notice anything off. Will Harlan finish before Rourke sees, or is this the second everything blows apart? Rourke steps closer, and Harlan knows his window is closing fast. The sun hangs straight overhead, bright enough to sting the eyes. May feels the final strand around her wrist loosen, but she doesn't move. Just like Harlan told her. Her breathing slows thin and shallow, almost gone. Harlan straightens slowly, forcing himself to look natural. Rourke wipes sweat from his forehead, watching him with the suspicion of a stray dog sizing up a stranger. And at that exact moment, Judd, Rourke's younger brother, strolls in from the horses, younger, twitchier, gripping his gun like he's praying for a reason to use it. He looks May over and laughs, still breathing. Good. Might fetch a reward. Harlan's hand tightens. He can't wait anymore. Not with Judd this close. Not with May trussed up like an animal waiting for the knife. Harlan shifts his boot, pretending to scrape dirt loose. His other hand slides to the grip of his revolver. Judd steps closer to May, that ugly grin spreading across his face. He lifts a hand, reaching toward her cheek, still pretty, even scared. Harlan doesn't think. He fires once. Not center mass, but into Judd's shoulder. The shot slams him sideways with a scream as his gun drops into the dust. The recoil snaps Harlan's arm back. Horses rear and snort. Dirt bursts upward. Harlan swings toward Rourke and fires again, but the hurried shot only chews up ground near Rourke's boots. Rourke curses and dives behind a clump of dry brush, yanking his revolver free as he goes. May flinches, turning her face away as bark and splinters fly. Harlan sees it. He shifts his aim, careful not to line up through her. Then he steps out from what little cover he has and starts walking straight at Rourke, firing as he advances, fully exposed under the sun. Rourke shoots back fast, furious, but Harlan keeps coming. Step by step, no ducking, no hesitation. Every stride dares Rourke to land a hit. Each shot pulls Rourke's focus farther from May and locks it on Harlan instead. Judd is still on the ground, screaming, his voice high and broken, blending with drifting dust and Harlan's relentless advance. The moment twists into something chaotic and unbalanced as Rourke Van looks from his wounded brother to Harlan Pike, who is still advancing with the gun, up, eyes locked and unblinking. For the first time, Rourke falters. He has cover, but not enough. Judd is down. The shots aren't slowing this man. Rourke makes his choice and bolts. He runs for his horse swings into the saddle and spurs hard. Harlan raises the revolver and fires one last round, driven more by stubborn resolve than any real belief he'll land it. The bullet snaps dust beneath the horse's hooves. The animal surges in panic, stretching the gap wider. Rourke and his mount smear into the heat haze, leaving Harlan alone in the dirt, the barrel cooling in his hand. Behind him, Judd's screams thin out and finally die away. Harlan knows someone will find him sooner or later. Rourke doesn't look back, and Harlan knows he'll return, and he won't be alone. Breathing hard, Harlan turns to May Calder. He lifts her carefully, helps her to her feet, and murmurs that they need to move before Rourke brings hell down on them. The question hangs heavy when Rourke comes back. What kind of storm will follow? Harlan helps May up onto the horse, then swings in behind her, his arm steady as he gathers the reins. The horse lunges forward toward the river. Neither of them speaks. They're shaken-winded, trying to make sense of what just happened. May keeps glancing back over her shoulder. She expects to see Rourke charging after them, shouting, shooting anything. But the trail stays empty as they reach the Arkansas River. Harlan slows the horse and guides it beneath a stand of cottonwoods. He climbs down a sharp wince, crossing his face as his ribs remind him of the beating he took. May slides down her legs unsteady. He catches her arm before she falls. She pulls away at first, still unsure if trust is earned or borrowed. Then she notices the cuts on his face, the tremor in his hands that hasn't quite stopped. Something in her eases. She reaches for the canteen on the saddle and passes it to him. "Drink," she says. "You look like you're about to drop." Harlan manages a tired smile. "I'm fine. We just need a minute." Rourke won't stay gone. He never does. They move deeper into the shade and find an abandoned tack shed, half collapsed, but good enough to hide for a while. May helps Harlan sit. He peels off a glove and presses his palm to his bruised ribs, grimacing before forcing a dry chuckle. "Takes more than one outlaw to put me under." May sits beside him, close, but not crowding. Her voice softens. "Why did you help me? You could have walked away. You could have sided with them." Harlan looks out at the river, silent for a long beat. Then he answers. "I've seen what men like them do. I wasn't going to let it happen again, not to someone who still has her whole life ahead of her." May studies him with new eyes, not as the hard rancher who rode in with outlaws, but as the man who risked everything to cut her loose. For the first time since dawn, she feels safe. Not completely, but enough to breathe. Then a sound slices through the stillness. A horse screams somewhere off in the distance. A second set of hooves answers it. Harlan Pike stiffens. He knows that sound. He knows that rhythm. Rourke Van is coming back, and he isn't riding alone. The question isn't if trouble is coming, but who will still be standing when it's done. Harlan rises slowly as the thunder of hooves grows closer. May Calder steps up beside him, fingers clenched around the edge of the tack shed door, her breath trapped halfway in her chest. The air tightens into an uneasy calm, the kind that settles right before a storm breaks. Harlan scoops up his revolver, flips the cylinder, and looks at May with steady resolve. "Stay behind me," he says, "no matter what happens." May shakes her head. Her voice wavers, but her eyes don't. "You saved me. I'm not hiding while you face him alone." Her words strike harder than any blow Rourke ever landed. For the first time, Harlan doesn't see her as a terrified girl, but as someone braver than she realizes, someone willing to stand when the ground starts to give way. Rourke explodes out of the tree line with a furious shout. This time he's flanked by two hard-eyed riders, armed and ready, a small pack, hungry for payback. Harlan shoves May behind a fallen log and steps out to meet them head-on. He fires once fast and clean, knocking the first rider from the saddle before the man can even raise his gun. What follows is quick and brutal. The second rider swings down and rushes Harlan from the side. For a moment, Harlan is overwhelmed. Dust billows thick. Branches crack and splinter. Gunfire hammers through the valley like rolling thunder. Harlan moves with raw, desperate force, driven by something deeper than fear. He fights for May. He fights for redemption. He fights because he's done running from the ghosts that have followed him for years. May spots a pistol lying in the dirt near the fallen rider. Her hands tremble as she picks it up, the metal cold and heavy in her grip. She squeezes the trigger with her eyes half shut. The recoil jerks the barrel skyward, the shot tearing into the cottonwood above as leaves rain down. The blast nearly knocks her off balance, but it's enough. The outlaws freeze just long enough for Harlan to seize the moment and take down the last rider. The man's horse panics, rears hard, and throws him, leaving him scrambling in the dirt and out of the fight. In the final heartbeat, Rourke charges with a savage scream. Harlan holds his ground. They collide and slam into the earth, rolling through the dust, clawing for control. Rourke ends up on top, yanking a knife from his belt and driving it toward Harlan's chest. Harlan clamps down on his wrist, with everything he has, the blade trembling inches above him. With a desperate heave, Harlan rolls them over, rips the knife free, and turns Rourke's own weapon back on him. When it's over, the knife slips from Harlan's shaking hand, and Rourke lies motionless in the dirt. Silence settles. Real silence, the kind that tells you it's finished. May rushes to Harlan, hands unsteady as she checks him for wounds. He manages a tired smile, but she pulls him close without thinking. And for the first time since sunrise, she feels safe. Safe because of him. Safe because he chose to rise above what the world demanded of him. During the first week, May Calder still wakes in the dark, shaking from dreams that won't loosen their grip. Some nights, she doesn't lie down at all, instead sitting upright in her mother's old chair, listening to the quiet and waiting for morning. Harlan Pike never presses her. He never asks for explanations or promises. He keeps his distance, taking watch outside the porch each night, alert to any sign that trouble might find its way back. Weeks later in Dodge City, Harlan helps her piece her wagon together again and shows her how to handle a horse with steady hands and sure balance. May begins visiting his ranch, often bringing fresh bread and that gentle smile that always seems to catch him off guard. One warm evening, standing along the fence line as the sun sinks into the prairie, she turns toward him and softly repeats the words that started everything. If you want to, just do it. This time there is no fear in her voice, only hope, only the possibility of something new, something worth holding on to. Finally, let me send my deep thanks to you. Your presence means more than you know. If today's story awakened something inside you, don't let the trail end here. There are many more tales of courage, devotion, and faith waiting to be discovered. Subscribe, comment, share, and come back as we continue this unforgettable journey. Thank you truly. Aviso legal barra disclaimer. All stories are intended solely for entertainment and may include fictionalized scenarios or dramatization derived from historical contexts. While AI assists in production, human creators supervise and adjust every piece to maintain sincerity, credibility, and emotional quality. We adhere entirely to platform regulations regarding AI content, ensuring no deepfakes or misleading portrayals. Licensed materials are used responsibly. Republishing, modifying, or extracting content without authorization is not allowed. We appreciate every viewer who respects originality and creative effort.